Good evening, Bahamas. On the broadcast tonight, the government set to meet with an international ratings agency as it seeks to avoid another credit downgrade. Plus, the Works Minister weighs in on all these blackouts. And the Bahamas Rowing Federation hosting several summer camps.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Knowles. Happy pre-independence. The government is set to have a series of meetings this week with international regulatory bodies regarding the economic state and future ratings of the Bahamas. This according to Minister of Financial Services, Trade and Immigration Brent Simonet. In an interview with Our News, just 2 days before international credit ratings agency Moody's announced that it has placed the Bahamas' government bond ratings on review for yet another downgrade, Simonet said those meetings will be vital. Our Kyle Joaquin leads us off with tonight's top story.
Next week, or it's either later this week or next week, the regulatory authorities are back in the Bahamas to review our ratings as a result of the change of government. You're aware that there have been substantial borrowings because of the debts left behind by the former administration. All of these go into a pot that will affect our standings for the near future.
In its opinion, released on Friday, Moody's said it would downgrade the Bahamas' credit rating if its ratings review were to conclude that the Bahamas' government debt ratio were likely to rise to levels that would erode its fiscal strength. During this review, the credit ratings agency said it would also assess how the Bahamas' overall credit profile will evolve, compared with those of sovereigns rated in the BAA and BA categories. The Bahamas currently sits at a BAA3, just above non-investment grade. But the Ministry of Financial Services said with the new government just 2 months in, there's a lot they've been doing as it pertains to these ratings.
We're working to try and resolve a lot of those issues, to bring in tighter financing, awards of contracts. Many contracts were awarded in the last few days very loosely and with huge amounts of money.
Moody's says they assess the Bahamas' fiscal strength as low, owing to the country's relatively high debt burden. But on a more positive side, Moody's applauded the F&M government for delaying the implementation of tax breaks promised on the campaign trail. Moody's said the weakness of the economy is likely to weigh on revenue growth over the coming years. Since the F&M came to office in May, it has repeatedly revealed examples of what it dubbed financial irresponsibility and poor decision-making on the part of the previous government. Simonet explained why.
It might appear to people that we haven't done a lot in terms of, I think Mr. Roberts said, new legislation. Well, the answer to Mr. Roberts is very simple. They left such a mess, it's taking us a long time to undo the blatant disregard for the Bahamian people, the rules of law, and political and financial correctness. So that doesn't take laws, that takes policies, review, and looking at it to make sure the Bahamian people get value for money.
He said, frankly, the country will feel the effects of financial decisions made by the previous government for a while.
Quite some time. So it's going to take a while to, first of all, you have to borrow a lot of money, so that needs to be repaid, that needs to be refinanced, and then we have to get the economy going again and create new investment and development.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Minister of Public Works Desmond Bannister is calling the current electricity issues across the country a nightmare. Bannister says the consistent blackouts that have plagued New Providence are not just limited to this island, as there are also widespread outages across the Family Islands.
The summertime has been a very difficult time for Bahamians. In my own constituency in Carmichael, the power has been off every single day. In Abaco for the last few weeks, they've had a nightmare with the generation of power. In Inagua, they've had other problems. So we have to do some things.
The power generation issues come as Bahamas Power and Light has increased its fuel charge. The Central Bank of the Bahamas' monthly economic report revealed an increase in household energy costs with an almost 50% increase in BPL's fuel charge year on year. Last week, BPL sought to explain the increase, saying it was the result of the use of units at the Blue Hills Power Station. The government has started a request for proposals process in a bid to find alternative sources of energy to meet the demand. Bannister says at the end of the day, he doesn't want the Bahamian people to endure another frustrating summer filled with rolling blackouts.
Well, first, I think to the staff at BPL, we know that this is not their fault. We know they're working hard, and we know that they have antiquated equipment. And we're going to try to be able to give them the kind of equipment that will permit them to shine in what they're doing, offer the best services that they can to the country. And then to the remainder of the country, I don't want to ever see another summer like this. And I want to be able to put things in place. It won't be easy, and it won't all come at once, but we want to be able to have some kind of relief for the Bahamian people, and that's what we're going to be working for.
Well, the Bahamas is, and probably will be for a very long time, a two-party democracy, according to former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham. Just this past week, Democratic National Alliance leader Branville McCartney broke his silence since the May 10th general election. The party managed to scrap together only half the votes it received in 2012, leaving many to wonder whether it only makes sense to vote for one of two parties, the Free National Movement or the Progressive Liberal Party. According to Ingraham, that's the only way.
Quite frankly, third parties, we are a two-party democracy, like the United States is. That's what we are. Every now and again, people allow it to go to their head. They should have a third party. they end up wasting their vote, if I can put it in that context. And the people they really didn't want to win end up winning the election anyhow.
It's no secret the DNA may have played a major role in the PLP winning the 2012 general election. The DNA at that time got some 13,000 votes, while the FNM got 10,000 less than the PLP, who won the general election. Ingraham suggested the only role third parties really play is as a spoiler. He said the country democratically has some restructuring to do where people can see which party best suits them.
And so it seems to me that the Bahamas ought to do the best it can towards making the two political parties it has as effective and as responsive as possible. You can never stop others from starting little small splinter groups.
In the May general election, there were a number of independent candidates and numerous small parties. But Ingraham insists if people truly want to see change, they would look at either joining the FNM or PLP.
We ought to focus ourselves as a population upon making those two political parties the instrument through which we achieve our objective. And if they're not doing what we want to, let's get in, let's join, and let's help to change things, okay?
And we'll take a break here, but still ahead tonight, news from the overnight crime beat. Plus, a look at tonight's activities for the Independence celebrations. Those stories and more when our news returns.